Right.
That's the first application.
All right, we are ready.
We can open up the meeting. So it is 5:45. First thing on our agenda is I will make a motion to enter into the executive session pursuant to General Laws 38, Section 21, relating to the Teamsters Local 653, Library Clerical Administration pursuant to Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, since doing so in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect. Second thing is we'll be discussing the MBTA zoning mandate, under General Laws 38, Section 21A3, regarding strategy with respect to litigation, which again, we don't want to do in an open session. So do I have a second?
Second.
Tom?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I vote yes. Have adjournment, come back in a few minutes.
Ready to roll.
All right, we'll come back, back into public session. First thing will be to say the pledge of allegiance. If you join me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know we have, are you folks all here for the insurance?
Yes.
They're here for the appointment to the COA board.
Oh, okay.
Live streamed.
Before you start too, just remind you, we're being videotaped.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. We are being videotaped and live streamed, I hear. So
Yep.
anybody who needs that. Okay, so let's start with our discussions on insurance requirements for the use of town green. I guess that's why you're here. Okay, and I'm not sure what we...
So you had asked to push it to the next meeting. I was unable to get our insurance company to come in, but they did reaffirm, their stance on, requiring, again, that in order to cover the town, this is where they stand. Again, it is a policy decision, that's why it's before you tonight, but that is their recommendation. I did speak with my counterpart in Kingston, and he also confirmed that is the requirement in Kingston, that if they have any vendors, the vendors have to provide a policy that lists the town as an additional insured for every single vendor. And again, Kingston was very similar to us. He made their board aware of it, and it was a decision, the board could go against the recommendation, but it exposes the town to risk. So that's, again, my job to make sure you're aware of that risk.
Okay, any discussion from the board? John, Tom?
I just add that in my day job, I did reach out to a couple people, and they said that the blanket insurance provided by certain events, that was kind of a thing of the past, and that vendors insurance, because it was so disparate in terms of what was brought in by the vendors, that they couldn't accurately rate it. So the blanket insurance is kind of a thing of the past, and the vendor insurance getting their own is kind of the new thing.
Yeah, I'm torn, It's a tough spot to be in. We're between a rock and a hard place. You want to help our residents and give them access, but we also have to be responsible with the liability of the town. It's tough.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us? No? Okay. So
I can tell you that our insurance company will not add vendors to our insurance policy. So like Tom just said, that's not something that they are able to do, so we can't help them at all with our insurance.
Has anybody looked into, like, your event specifically, Pride, is like correct me if I'm wrong, is a one-day event in town.
Yes.
Have the vendors looked into one-day insurance?
So we've sort of been waiting to see what you guys were going to vote on before our vendors started pursuing other avenues.
Okay.
I was quoted through our insurance company, it would be about $200 to $300 for vendor insurance for one day.
Per vendor?
Per vendor.
Have you checked with USLI?
Lana, can you come up to the microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I should have had you come up before. It's my fault.
I would just throw out there, USLI is a company that you can get an instant quote over the phone with as a private vendor. And I'm told, after speaking to them, I'm told they're competitive. I don't know what that means,
Yeah.
but for one day event, I would check with them.
Oh, USLI.
USLI, United States Liability Insurance.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else for us to do, we have a policy. No one wants to change it for now, so we'll just go with that.
So just to confirm, you want to continue or enforce the requirement that vendors have coverage and
Yes.
list the town as additional insured?
I think so.
All vendors?
Yes.
Might be good to vote on that, just to, so everyone's clear.
All right, I'll make that motion, as Cody just said it. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So it's unanimous. Try to work it out, thank you. All right, so let's take up the appointment of Diane Ruxton, and that's why you folks are here, right? Okay, good. So I know Diane, she's been on numerous boards. Glad to see her still involved, even though she's no longer on, she was a wage and personnel for the longest time, so I think she'd make a nice addition. Council unanimously approves it.
Yes, they did. Yeah, Darlene Regan, Director of the Halifax Member Services, Council on Aging. She actually did approach us in terms of the board itself, the COA board, to actually see if she wanted to be on our board. And so she decided that it would be a good fit. So we suggested that she come to a meeting, but she wasn't able to attend tonight. So in lieu of that, I'd like to, present that to the board, and hopefully she'll be a part of our board. And it's a 7-member board approved for, so right now it is 3.
Oh.
Remember, yeah. So we're down to one was ill, so they couldn't participate any longer, so. yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I too know Diane. I know she's energetic, great volunteer, has a lot of history here in Halifax, and I'm glad she's stepping forward.
She does, and then she's also familiar with all the services and programs at the COA, so it should be a real great, asset for us.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Diane Ruxton to Council on Aging with a term ending June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Pass that along.
They're there for the...
Oh,
A decision's already been made then?
these guys were here for,
Oh,
they were in the hallway
I
for
spoke to you
insurance.
earlier about
Being here for insurance.
come on in.
Come on in, guys, sorry.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought that Lana was the one that was going to do all the talking. So, why don't you just repeat what you told us the first time?
Oh, sure. So our insurance provider was unable to attend the meeting, but they did reaffirm their recommendation to have policies for vendors and list the town as additional insured. I did speak with Kingston's town administrator. Kingston follows that same practice as well. So it's a policy decision of the board, but that is the recommendation. And like I said earlier, it's my job just to bring it forward to limit the risk to the town, and then ultimately the board's decision to comply with those recommendations from our insurance company, or potentially open up the town to risk.
Do you folks want to tell us anything? We've discussed it as a board. We're fairly confident that we should follow advice of the people that we pay for that advice, the insurance people. But if you have anything to tell
Well, I know
us,
I've
if you'd come
spoken
up,
to several insurance
if you come up to the microphone and just identify yourself so we have it on the record.
I'm Linda Arnold, 21 Doris Road. I've spoken to several insurance companies, and their feeling is they will cover our event. They will not cover the vendors, but they will cover the event, even, whether or not they're insured.
Okay.
Right, and that's the same position, I think, as the farmer's market and the Pride event. The event is covered by the insurance.
Right.
In the olden days, it was possible, in some circumstances, to get the vendors covered under a blanket insurance policy. The insurance companies are now telling some here and others that we've investigated as possibilities, that's no longer possible. So the vendor insurance is the recommendation from the insurance company. Vendor insurance, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, can be fairly inexpensive depending on what you're doing. One company that writes it on a consistent basis is a company called USLI, and they provide...
I've dealt with them.
Okay, and they provide quotes same day, quickly over the phone. That's one avenue I recommend looking into. Not that you haven't, but others who are interested, perhaps.
Fairly inexpensive.
Well, that's, and I said before, that's fairly inexpensive. That's to the eye, beholder of the eye of the beholder. I think it matters what you're doing. One day insurance for something like a town parade is about $400 to cover a parade. Speaking for one-day insurance for, a farmer's market, one time, I can't imagine it would be nearly that much. But if you're talking about a farmer's market from May to September every Saturday, that's different.
I feel like we're basically being told that the town does not want any events on the
No
town
way.
Not what we're saying at all.
green.
What we're telling...
Nothing basically can be held then, right?
What we're telling you is that the insurance company that insures the town, gives us advice on what we should and shouldn't do, is telling us that this is the way it should be done, and we're trying to follow advice, and that's what we're supposed to do. So that's we're not telling you, we don't at all are any idea of not opening up the town green. I mean, I think that's a wonderful resource for the town. But we do need to follow the rules, and they protect the town entirely, so.
Well, I think there are going to be very few, if any, events held on the town green now.
Anybody else have anything else they want to talk to us about? Yes, ma'am, go right ahead. Just tell us who you are so we have it on the record.
Jean Kling, and I'm also with the Fur Festival in town, and we're hoping to have vendors. So if you are saying USLI may insure vendors for the day, do you have any idea what the vendor cost would be? Do you think that's...
Well, I think it matters what I don't want to speak for the insurance company, but I think it matters what the vendor is. I mean, not all vendors are created equal. I mean, I think if you're, not to minimize it, but if you have a bouncy house and trampolines, that's probably has more exposure and a higher premium than somebody who's doing something different.
Say you're a mobile dog groomer and all you're doing is presenting literature.
Yeah, if you're just passing out literature and there's no exposure to live animals, that sort of thing, if you're literally just passing out information, I'd have to imagine that comes at a lesser cost. I don't know that to be true.
So you think there's a sliding scale?
I do.
for the different
I do.
Okay. And USLI, is that one that would be done online?
Yeah, if you look up,
Information, Jean.
United States Liability Insurance Group, USLI, you just Google it, and it's called InstaQuote. You can get a quote right over the phone.
Well, it is disappointing. It changes the whole event, but...
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I might just add.
Yep.
So they actually had, so they actually had the dog event 2 years ago, and they actually did go out, Generations Group did go out and purchase a policy, probably was a blanket policy for all of the vendors. I don't know how they did it, but it was all like local vendors and simple things that weren't really exposure-wise. So I don't know, I mean, if perhaps maybe I could pull that for them. I think I have a lot of records that they had saved. You probably have.
I still have the information
Yeah.
about the insurance.
So I mean, I don't know if someone wants to review that.
We've reviewed all of that.
Okay, oh, you
Thanks.
did, all right, so, anyway, it was but it worked out really well, so it was fun.
Roy?
Lori Costa Klein, 285 South Street. So I would like some clarification on what constitutes a vendor. Like, how is that defined by the insurance policy?
That's a good question.
We can get an insurance definition, but at the surface be anyone coming in, providing a service or a sale of anything at the event.
So a service, could that be someone who has an information table and is just handing out paper?
Again, we'd have to get that information.
that's
But I think
important
it would
clarification.
effectively be anyone set up at the event, not covered under the event insurance.
Okay. So can we get that clarification
Sure.
from the insurance company? Is it possible for you to email Halifax Pride, or I can send you
Sure.
an email? Because we really need to work with our event to clarify. We don't want to put the town at risk, but this changes the landscape of future town events, so.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so is Mr. King here, or did he just leave?
He just left, yeah.
All right, well, he may as well take it up if he's out in the hallway. We have a live entertainment request from Stephen King for the farmer's market, starting May 31st and running through October 18th. Acoustic folk music, country, and everybody has approved it. So 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on every one of those days. So I'll make a motion that we approve the live entertainment permit.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. And then one more town green request, and that is from Janice Hayward, Halifax Fireworks. The date is May 10th from 9 a.m. to 2. No live entertainment, and craft fair, use of green and use of Great Hall, and you've had discussions with them about it.
Well, we said we'd let them know what
I will, if you guys want to approve a contingent on getting the insurance and events, I will talk to her about that and see what she's gonna end up doing.
Okay.
Tabled or vote contingent upon? I mean, because it's,
You can make it contingent upon
Make
getting
contingent.
insurance approval.
Now, let me ask you this though, Halifax Fireworks, that is a border committee underneath.
Right, but the
Halifax?
vendors are not.
Okay.
So even if the
Okay.
town has events, our vendors still need insurance to cover the town. So it doesn't matter if it's a town event or, or if it's someone having it as a group, our vendors still need
Okay,
insurance.
good, I will let her know.
Chris Winowitz, 129 Second Street. Just after hearing all this, we keep saying the town green, is this covering now all town property? You know, like across the street, I've seen events over near the playground, so this is like blanket across the town now?
Well, that's what the insurance requirement is for use of the town property. So
Okay.
it could be any part
Because
of
we
the
kept talking
parking
about
lot
town
and
green,
that.
but it's really,
All town
Well,
properties?
that's the only reason that's come up is because that's the three questions that, the three events that have come up. I mean, somebody wanted to use the ball fields for something, which I don't recall.
just as a resident, it's nice seeing all the stuff at
Yeah.
the town property, so
no
that
question.
Yeah, and
changes that big time.
I don't want to speak for the board, but we don't want to see that go away. But we also have to protect the town, which, like I said, puts us in a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, it would be irresponsible for us to ignore liability insurance issues. That just, you wouldn't expect the board to do that, I would think. All right, so I make a motion to approve the use of the town green by the fireworks on May 10th.
Provisional, that,
Yeah, provisional,
Contingent on insurance.
contingent on.
that's the word,
Contingent.
sorry.
The insurance issues getting worked out.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, let's go back to the top and take up our warrants and so on.
I move to affirm approval of the following warrants and commitments. Vendor warrant number 88 for $10,594.35. Vendor warrant number 89 for $278,896.30. Ambulance commitments March 17, 2025 through March 23, 2025 for $98,162.80.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
I move to approve the following warrants and commitments. Payroll warrant number 90 for $458,343.22. Vendor warrant number 91 for $93,862.32. Withholding warrant number 92 for $157,162.96. And mobile home park fee number 4 for $5,160.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, going on to, why don't we keep the special, the warrant review for the end?
Yeah.
And then we'll deal with, we have a road cut for 2 Country Club Way. It looks like everything's in order, so I would make a motion that we approve the road cut request by, who is this? I don't know who it is.
Trying to find it on my,
For the size,
The name here is Clint Schoen.
that's going to be Eversource.
Eversource?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way it's coming through now.
All right, they got both of these?
No, Eversource is doing 2 Country Club Way, and Rigel Excavation is doing the next one.
Okay, all right, so dealing with the 2 Country Club Way, I'll make that motion to approve the curb cut. We have a second?
second.
Any discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Now, the road cut for 266 Monpont Street, again, it's all been approved by the police and
Yeah,
everybody?
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Yes.
Amy Troop, 10 Hillside Ave. Are there 2 curb cuts on that? The
No.
266?
There's a 10 by 10 on 266 Monpont, and a 4 by 6 on 2 Country Club Roadway.
Yeah, I meant on 266. So are they doing the driveway cuts or are they doing energy cut? Is that an energy cut?
It's a water line.
Thank you.
All right, again, let's see, so we have authorizations to hire.
Yeah, so we have a hiring freeze in effect, as you know. I'll run through each of these and explain the reason for the request. The first is the assistant town accountant. So as you know, Lindsay Martinelli has been our accountant. She was previously our assistant town accountant. We've had the assistance of Eric Kinchef consulting firm. I think it's time to try to get away from the consulting firm and bring in full staffing. In the long term, this saves us money because we're going to pay an assistant town accountant much less than we would the consulting firm who's been supporting the accounting office after Sandy's retirement and bringing Lindsay up to speed. So if we begin the recruitment now, the goal would be to kind of have them out of here by the end of the fiscal year. But we got to begin that recruitment. The library associate, so as part of the budget this year, one of the proposals is actually going to be to eliminate an 18-hour-a-week library associate. With that being said, there's an opening for a 30-hour-a-week library associate, and so the individual who currently holds the 18-hour-a-week position is interested in the 30-hour-week position, so it makes sense to hire them for the 30-hour-week position, and then we would eliminate the 18-hour-week position. And then building commissioner, unfortunately, our building commissioner will be resigning from his position, and we need a building commissioner, so it's, we need to have that position filled.
Yes, go ahead.
Why is the building commissioner resigning?
That's a personnel matter. I can't get into personnel matters.
Okay, well, I didn't know if there was a issue that was public, that's why I asked. And what day is he leaving?
His last day with the town is
April 19th.
The next week, end of next week. I do have, I've been in discussions with bringing in an interim building commissioner, so my goal would be at your next meeting to have a contract for you to approve with an interim building commissioner, so we don't lose a beat while we
Considering
recruit.
all the projects, we do need one.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, any discussion from the board?
Yeah, well, I know there's a little scuttlebutt about, hey, we have a hiring freeze and we are listing these positions here. The first 2 are saving the town money. So we're using consultants to help our town accountant currently, so that would be a cost savings if we were to discontinue our consultant and bring in an assistant town accountant. The second one, we're essentially eliminating 18 hours at the library. So I know when folks see this, they say, hey, we're in a hiring freeze. These first 2 moves, I think, as you said, Cody, are going to save the town money, and then that last one, a building commissioner. The town needs a functioning building commissioner, so.
We can't, with Halifax Trails, Thorndike project going on, and the
Yeah.
other projects going on, you have to.
We need it.
We need a building
We're
commissioner.
statutorily required to have a building commissioner as
Correct.
well.
So, anything else? So you want one motion for all of them, or?
As long as if you're approving all of them, I don't see why you can't approve it all in one.
Well, I'll give that a try. So I'll move that we authorize the hiring of an assistant town accountant, library associate, 30 hours a week, and the building commissioner, based on the way the town administrator has explained it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Okay, so now we get to the warrant.
Oh, meeting reschedule?
Oh, yes, so I asked that we could reschedule. Our next meeting is supposed to be
22nd.
22nd to the following week, and so I'll move that we reschedule the Selectmen's meeting to April 29th.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right.
All right, so you each have copies of the draft warrant. Before I begin, just kudos to the team here. This was, as we know, a taxing budget season, and also just putting together the warrant is never an easy task, so it was a good team effort, so I appreciate everyone's assistance. I'll go through each article and explain the rationale. If you have any questions on them, I'll do my best to answer them.
Can I ask a question to start with?
Yeah.
I didn't think we had a special town meeting.
We do not. We initially thought we were going to
Okay.
have to, but the item that we initially thought we would is no longer necessary.
Good.
So, all right. Article 1 is a standard annual article to hear and act on the reports of town officers and committees. Article 2 is the wage and personnel bylaw proposals. These are the 3 items that you had previously voted on in your wage and personnel meeting. Article 3 sets the salaries for elected officials. Article 4 is the operating budget. Note, these figures in here are not the updated figures. Those are just in the budget that the Finance Committee approved.
I still think Article 1 ought to be abandoned.
We could, that's one of those articles, in speaking with council, the initial reasoning for it was really before you had a written annual town report, and so it would be an opportunity for boards, committees, departments to get up and give an annual update. But we have a written town report. Halifax has kept it in there, but if it's the board's pleasure, it's certainly not necessary.
Can we take it out on this one?
You approved
Yeah.
one, so.
I mean, so in my experience, almost never is anyone make a comment about that, other than once in a while, the Board of Selectmen will. But we can do that anyway, and it seems to me it's just like an anachronism that we don't really need anymore.
So you're saying there's really no functionality to it, or?
Like Cody says, we do, I think it's actually either bylaw requirement or statutory now. That we-
Statutory, that we have an
So
annual
with the
report.
statutory requirement, that we have the written report.
Which we have. It's the warrant.
No,
No, our annual report.
Oh, the annual report,
Yeah,
okay.
the letter we wrote, and every town department does a report. Police, everybody does that.
Okay.
So it's not in the bylaws?
This one?
Article 1 is not part of?
No, I don't think.
That would not be a change of the bylaw?
No. It's always been there. It's been there just because
Because it's been there?
it's been there. And it has never been, like I said, I can't remember anyone ever, any department head actually standing up and saying, I want to make a comment about the report from the highway department or from the whatever, recycling center. It's just never happened. Once in a while, the Board of Selectmen does, but we could do it anyway, it's not like needed. So it's just, to me, it's an anachronism. It doesn't have to be there. It just is one of those things, somebody moves it, somebody seconds it, nobody knows what to say about it. It just
Just
moves
goes
on to
through.
the next one.
Right.
From the perspective, I didn't even know that that was supposed to happen, that the boards could get up and give any annual report or anything like that. I think that maybe that would be an educational point, that now maybe the town will actually know, and maybe we should be doing that, because if we have a report from the highway department that's given, maybe it's written, but a lot of people might not have been able to see it, but it would be a good way for us to know exactly how our town is doing, as, an example of the highway department. And if it only takes a minute, I think it would be silly to take it off.
There's plenty of opportunities when their articles come up for them to tell what's going on. And like I said, in my 40 years, I've never seen anyone else do it.
Could I just ask a clarification question? So is this an opportunity for a specific department to get up and read their report? Or is it an opportunity for someone from the crowd, not from the department, to ask for that report?
The first,
Yeah.
so it's to hear and act on the report, so you'd have to have a report that's given.
That's right. But this is not an opportunity for someone to raise their hand from the general town public to ask a specific department to give their report?
As this warrant article is written, no.
No, okay.
But it could be, because everybody knows I would ask for a report.
It doesn't require them to do anything. That's the point. The point is, it's the opportunity for the town officers and committees to do a report, which we already have.
Which we have written already.
There's a written report that's already been produced every year. It always is. And that we have to do, so. All right, so I'll make a motion that we just delete Article 1 off the warrant.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
All right, it passes by majority. Okay. So I interrupted you, Cody. You were at 4?
No, that's fine. So 4 is just the annual operating budget, which is what we had discussed at the last meeting. The updates are effectively, we cut $32,500 as voted by the board from the Halifax Elementary School. We actually had to reduce a little bit further on the town side, just because as a result of some of the capital items that were reduced, we had to increase the operating budget. For instance, in the police department, we got word from our insurance company that our insurance was going to increase a little more than we had initially proposed. So just so the board is aware, effective July 1, we will be eliminating the office assistant in our office. We will be eliminating an 18-hour-a-week library associate, as I mentioned, and also reducing another library associate 5 hours a week. And we also will be reducing one of our full-time staff members in the building maintenance department to 19.5 hours a week. And those are the personnel cuts on the town side. Article 5 creates the there's some formatting issues here, so ignore those. But Article 5 creates, so we have a bylaw, 23.3 subsection 5, that lists all of our authorized revolving funds. At the request of Halifax Elementary School, they've asked that we create 2 new revolving funds. They do not anticipate on using them in fiscal 26, but they'd like them created in case they need to use them in future years. So the first one is a busing revolving fund, so if they were to charge for busing, the account's there. Full-day kindergarten, if they were to charge for full-day kindergarten, that account would be there. And then the third one here is, we actually talked about it last year, was the parks maintenance account. So any fees collected by the parks is automatically able to be utilized to maintain the parks. And again, this just creates the revolving accounts, which is required under Massachusetts general law to have our bylaw that lists them.
We don't fund any of these, right? This is just money that's
collected.
Just the whole
Exactly. So in Article 7, we'll actually get to setting the maximums, which is an annual article. So this isn't annual, this is just adding those new accounts. And then Article 7 actually sets the limits on those accounts. But again, this isn't to the town appropriating money to them. This is just whatever money comes in is the money that can be spent.
That's 5 and 6.
Article 6 is an annual article. This is our reserve fund. So we did increase our reserve fund this year on the general government side to $100,000. It was historically $75,000, but given the economic conditions, $75,000 doesn't cover much anymore if we have an emergency. And then $50,000 for the water department. Article 7 sets the limits of our revolving funds. That's an annual article. Again, we did not include the ones from the schools because they're not looking to utilize them this year. We did include the ones for the parks, which we set out to $20,000. Again, and just to note, that's not an appropriation. That's whatever is spent, whatever we receive is able to be spent for that purpose. Articles 8 through 12 are the acceptance of the public ways that you previously held your public hearing on. Do you have a question?
Could you just, Article 7, are we appropriate to talk about what those limits include? Youth and recreation advertisements? What's the difference between the programs and the advertisements?
I can pull up the full summary of what each one is. So these accounts are already created.
Right.
We're just setting the maximum limits.
That number just jumps out a little bit.
Yep, we can certainly look at it.
Unless they do something in the newspaper.
Yeah, I don't know if that's $40,000.
40 seems.
So again, this is just the maximum limit that can be spent out of it. So if they pull in a lot of money, it allows them to spend whatever they spend. But I can certainly look into what exactly that entails. Articles, like I said, Articles 8 through 12 are the acceptance of the public ways, which the board had previously voted on. For Bourne Drive, Christmas Tree Lane, Danson Lane, Heron Road, and Riders Way.
The first floor, did we find out on each of these whether or not there's a covenant on any of the lots that haven't been fulfilled? That's very important. So on the, I know Ryder has been signed off by the planning board. The other 4, I wanted to make sure that there isn't a lot that's left open with a covenant, meaning that the road is not finished and we don't have a bond, and that if by accepting these, there's still a lot that is left open that should be, that we haven't been able to have the teeth to take in order to finish the roads. Are you following me? Because you look like you might have a question. Okay. I think that it's really important to have that information at the town meeting, and that would be, so
Who's going to get it? Are you?
well, I'm thinking that since those didn't go by the planning board, I think that that would be due diligence that
We
should
did
be
send this to
done.
the planning board. You did?
You did now, we haven't handled it yet.
Okay. They were sent when we did before the public hearing.
Yeah.
Really, that's fine, we didn't see them on our agenda.
I sent a memo to all.
We sent a memo to all boards, commissions, departments.
It was put inside the mailbox.
I
And
1,000%
with the mailbox.
trust you.
And then on it, it said that there were plans, that they were at the town clerk's office to be reviewed at the town clerk's office. And they sat there until our last meeting that morning, that afternoon. I went down to the town clerk's office and brought them up here in case if anyone wanted to look at them.
Thank you.
We will do that research and find out if there's any lots still under restrictive
Yeah,
covenant.
because we didn't receive that memo at the planning board meeting. I don't know why. I'm not blaming it on you at all, so that just so you know, I would have another finger.
Article 13, this cleans up the opioid settlement. So as part of the Attorney General's lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies, the town receives these opioid settlement funds. Prior to fiscal 24, so fiscal 23, the first year we received these funds, the state law did not allow for us to account for them separately. So basically, the state law, in a nutshell, says any money you receive in, unless there's a designated purpose under municipal finance law, it has to go into the general fund. So this money went into the general fund. We, at the town meeting in 2023, voted to create a stabilization fund and fund it with this amount of money. In 24, the law changed that allowed the money to just come in, go into a separate account reserved for this purpose, but not have to go through a whole stabilization fund. And then in addition, when we did it in 2023, we actually did it a little bit too early. The funds had not been certified as free cash yet, so the funds had to have been certified by free cash. So what we did in 2023 is effectively invalid. So this cleans it up, puts that money in the special purpose account for further appropriation at a future time for opioid funds. I apologize, it's a little bit confusing, but it's really just cleaning up accounting. So the money's already...
And essentially, once we do this, Cody, the process will be a smoother transition going forward.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And this has been, I'm not sure if you've read, but you've seen, at least there's reports that municipalities aren't using these opioid funds.
Correct.
And a big part of that is because the way the law was written, it was very difficult for us to do so, because you had to receive them, you had to wait for them to be certified as free cash,
Yep.
you had to go to a town meeting,
Move it back.
you had to create a stabilization fund, which is a 2/3 vote, you then had to deposit them into a stabilization fund, and then if something came up where you wanted to utilize it, which is, it's very specific, it only can be utilized for certain purposes related to the opioid crisis, it then requires town meeting appropriation again,
Yeah.
and because it's from a stabilization fund, another 2/3. So it really was a cumbersome process. So the new law change is just a special revenue account that allows for further appropriation by the selectmen of a community.
What are we supposed to use it for?
We actually have an internal meeting later this month to start discussing that. There's several.
Because I've never seen it used.
We haven't used any of it yet, and partially because of this kind of the accounting side of it. There's different programs out there. My goal is in one of your May meetings to actually come forward with a proposal of how we can start utilizing some of it in Halifax based on the team's work.
Okay.
All right. Article 14, this is our capital plan. So this funds all the items recommended by the capital planning committee with the exception of those items that were removed at the last meeting. A total of $689,000 coming from free cash and then $500,000 from the water enterprise fund retained earnings. Initially the water department was looking for basically a carport on the back of the water department. But after further discussion, they've decided to hold off on that. So it's just the $500,000 for the treatment plant upgrades, the highway department annual road maintenance for $300,000, stormwater management we've added in there for $80,000. That's a requirement of our MS4 permits from the EPA. The library window replacement, we had previously allocated funds, but the cost came in higher than expected, so this is to supplement that so we can finish that project. Firearms replacement for the police department for $15,000. We've 2 police vehicles were requested, but that was one of the items that was reduced by the board. So only 1 vehicle for $60,000, $70,000 in rescue tools for the fire department, $50,000 in turnout gear, and then $94,000 for our cyclical inspection through the assessing department, which is a requirement of the Department of Revenue.
Are we supposed to be using the term free cash?
We can, yeah. So I had actually changed it a few years ago to unreserved, undesignated fund balance.
Undesignated fund balance is the
And-
term we were using.
I was told not to utilize that term anymore.
Oh, okay.
So we use free cash. Article 15, again, I apologize for the formatting here, but Article 15 is what the board had approved for the amendment to the town meeting bylaw. So this is exactly what you guys had approved before. It just allows the board to change the location if necessary due to capacity issues, and then changes the rules of practice to be governed by town meeting times. So that's, you guys had already voted on that one though. Article 16 is $3,500, an annual article, $3,500 to the South Coastal County Legal Services. They provide legal services and civil matters to elders, low-income families, and their children.
Pam, can we just check with them, and I think, is the other one on there too?
17.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the annual report on who they've assisted.
Yeah.
I'll have that.
Just because it comes up every once in a while, somebody wants to know exactly what they did.
Article 16.
Article 17 is to prior year bills. So we anticipate at least having 1 prior year bill from the school department. That'll be in the motion, what the actual bills are. But at this time, we're only aware of 1 prior year bill that needs to be paid. As you know, prior year bills have to have a town meeting authorization to pay them.
If it's an annual town meeting, though, it's just a majority?
That's a 4/5, I think it is, actually. I'd have to confirm.
It was like 9/10, I think it was special, something like that.
I'll have to look, but it's something, it's not just a simple majority. Article 18 is another annual article, $3,500 for the South Shore Resource and Advocacy Center, which
This is
supports...
the same thing as the other one.
Yeah, exactly. Domestic violence intervention and prevention.
But I want to make sure we have
Yep, we'll have the
a couple of
statistics.
facts.
Absolutely. Article 19 is $150 for the county cooperative extension services and allow the board to appoint a town director within 15 days. Article 20 is the littering bylaw that you guys had previously approved. Article 21 is the zoning bylaw changes. The planning board has a public hearing on the end of next week. Article 22 is the town MBTA zoning proclamation that you guys had previously voted on. Article 23, so we get into the petitioned articles, starting with Article 23. So Article 23 is a petitioned article by Alan Diaz and 13 others to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sell lots 135 and 136 on map 20 on Vernon Street to an abutter for a sum of money no less than $500 plus legal fees. Article 27 is proposed by Kimberly Sherg.
24, Cody.
I'm sorry, 24,
Yep.
proposed by Kimberly Sherg and 9 others to see if the town will vote to allow body art establishments as permitted use by right in the commercial zones. Again, that's a
Can I
zoning.
go back to 23 for just
sure.
a second? Don't we have to declare it surplus property? Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Chapter 40, Section 15 is a different avenue from that.
Okay.
If town meeting were to approve it, it does not require it to be declared as surplus property. So we're in the process right now going through all of our properties and tax title properties, properties we foreclosed on, and our goal would be to auction them off, bring in an auctioneer and auction them off. This is another method that authorizes the board to take this means.
And it doesn't have to be auctioned?
It does not. Under this Mass General Law.
Okay.
Who's the abutter?
Who are the abutters?
Yeah.
I don't know who all the abutters are.
Proposed by Alan
It's
Diaz.
proposed by Alan Diaz and 13 others.
It doesn't name the 13 others?
In the petition it does, but we don't name all 13 others.
Yeah.
And just, it's like any petition, they might not all be abutters, it's just who signed the petition.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that, but I was just curious.
Anything else on 23?
Nope.
Okay. 24 was the zoning change. It would, they're requesting to allow body art establishments, tattoo studios in the commercial zones. So again, because it's a zoning change, it's included in the public hearing at the planning board meeting on the 17th, I believe it is. Any questions on that? 24? Cool. 25 is proposed by Amy Troop and 18 others, and it looks like it's requesting an audit of all town departments, committees, assets, and liabilities. And I believe Ms. Troop's here if you have questions for her.
Anybody have any questions?
How do we pay for it?
We need to figure out something, so we'll have to figure that out, I guess.
So we did, council has reviewed all the petition articles. Again, just for legality purposes, right, they're not providing an opinion per se on the articles themselves. They're just providing legality. One of the concerns that came up was that exactly, Mr. Bruno, that there's no funding source dedicated to this. Council did also make note that we do undergo an annual financial audit as required by law. And we did also recently undergo a Department of Revenue financial and operational audit. But the main concern with this was the no funding source if we were to hire, have to hire someone externally. Article 26 is proposed by Van Donley and 18 others. There's a lot of information in here, but it effectively, I believe, is asking for the town to conduct an economic impact study on the proposed, on an MBTA zoning, on the mandate of the MBTA zoning. Again, the concern there is if we were to have to hire somebody, there isn't a funding source or an amount identified. And also, if we were to go through with a study of this nature, we don't have an approved district, so the scope of the study could be challenging to get definitive answers.
It does say completed internally, led through the finance committee, but the thing that I have a question about...
Or an independent study.
Yeah. But the thing I have a question about is, it says, this article is to prepare all town costs to back up the state auditor finding. Suppose they don't find that. I mean, it seems to me it's an awful predetermined, and I'm not saying one way or another whether it is or it isn't. I'm just saying that the way this is worded, their charge, so to speak, seems to be fine stuff. When I would think an internal, an impact study would be done in a more neutral way. At least that's how I see it, but I don't know. So.
Well, I can speak to that a little bit. I didn't write this, but I certainly back it. What we need to do is be ready to send to the state that it is an unfunded mandate, and there is absolutely no way that the town of Halifax can afford 750 units of apartments to go to our schools, be on our roads, and that's just to start, never mind the police, the fire. So I think that what he is stating is that it would be unfunded, and we need to back that up, because our view on this is that we need to tell the state, I'm sorry, unless you're going to fund everything that this is going to that's going to happen, then we say no, and here's our proof of why. So every department should be able to put together some sort of a study to say that if 750 units with 3-4 stories built on wetlands, we're gonna start coming on our streets, need fire assistance, police assistance, go to our schools. I mean, tap on our water that already has issue. I think that that's basically what he's looking for.
Okay. It does actually, it gives all the impetus to the finance committee. It says to bleed internally and led by the finance committee, or an independent study directed by the finance committee. So I suppose it's up to them, but it looks like they don't recommend it, but okay. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that, but.
Article 27 is proposed by Amy Troop and 19 others. It effectively, I believe, is requesting a mandate against No new building permits to be issued for new housing, condos, rentals, or apartments. No more new water services and trench permits are to be given out until the town residents vote the mandate of such to be lifted. In speaking with council, this is not legal. If it were approved as is, the town does not have the legal ability to just say no more unless there's a specific issue. So for instance, if water were an issue, the town could say no more interconnection permits. Building, that would need an interconnection permit until such time, the issue were fixed. I think Kingston did a moratorium on that. But without a plan or distinct facts, council did say that that would have a lack of legal.
We do
legal barrier.
have several parts of town that have wells still. So, I mean, it's not public water if it's a well. I mean, it's part of a aquifer, yes, but, okay, well.
Article 28 is proposed by Amy Troop and 16 others to see if the town will vote to remove the town from the Regional Health Board and SAF Act and relinquish power from the CDC and all other non-elected officials and bureaucracy back to the elected Board of Health of the town of Halifax and their appointed Board of Health agent.
So I have a couple of questions on this. What is the Regional Health Board and what is the SAF Act? SAFE Act? SAF Act?
The SAFE Act is SAPHE, which is the Regional Health Board that was created with a grant a few years ago. And I had questions on it then, but there's many regional acts and the CDC overrules the elected Board of Health in this. And that is why I would state that we remove ourselves from that.
So wait, before you go, so is the SAF Act and the Regional Health Board the same thing?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
Yes.
And this is something that Halifax is a member of?
That's correct.
Correct.
We're a host
And
town.
this isn't the thing that we did with Bridgewater, right? This is...
We are the host for the Bridgewaters, Rainham, and Middleborough.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. And relinquished power from, what is, I'm not quite sure what
The
that
CDC.
means. The CDC, relinquished power from the, what does that mean?
The CDC, that's,
No, I know what that is, Centers for Disease Control, I assume.
yeah.
But what do you mean by relinquished power? I don't understand.
Because in that SAFE Act, you give power to the CDC to act and overrule your Board of Health that you elect.
We are unaware of any circumstances where that exists in
Through the
Halifax.
SAFE Act?
Yeah, it was written in the law.
So this is a grant, we brought in $400,000 this year. It effectively, what it does again, Halifax is the host community, but along with the other communities, right, we have certain requirements that we have to do as a Board of Health, right? So for instance, a restaurant inspection, we have to do, let's say, 2 restaurant inspections a year. It allows us to go above and beyond, if we were, at no cost to the town. It also allows for, if there's someone, so Bob Valerie is our health agent, if Bob is out of town, it actually allows someone to fill in. We have someone in place at no cost to the town.
Mostly those inspections are cigar and cigarette because they upped the age to buy cigarettes and cigars to age 21. I don't think that we remember voting on that. That's not really our right to take that away from an 18-year-old just by somebody waving their hand. So that's basically, I've gone to their meetings and they're talking about going around to the local smoke shops and things like that and pressing upon them further inspections. I don't really think that we have any problems with our alcohol and restaurant inspections, but this is just increasing the amount of inspections. So basically, the story that this regional board was talking about was going around to different, like Cumberland Farms. So for instance, they said there's a scanner or an ID for somebody that looks like they might be under the age of, I think it's 35, somewhere in that range, right? So they take it, and if that establishment sells, even if they've waived the ID or not, they're looking to basically fine these people for underage or incorrect. It's basically for selling, not marijuana, nicotine and cigars, and they're pressing upon the establishments as well to not sell any cigars under the $2.50. And they think that that's going to help minors not smoke, but I thought it was already illegal to not sell them to under 21, so what are we doing here? It's a lot of extra inspections that are really just pressing more problems upon our small businesses in town, such as the, I don't know what Tedeschi's is called now, is that Halifax?
Market.
Thank
Halifax
you.
Market.
I don't really.
So are you saying that this regional health board makes regulations that are applicable to the town?
Through the state. So it's like a bureaucracy sending down into us, and then because I know for sure that we haven't had a vote to change in Massachusetts the age to smoke from 18 to 21, so you see what I'm talking about now?
I do, but I didn't know that this regional health board did any such thing like that.
It really,
They have the authority.
it requires it allows for further enforcement of those things.
There you
So it doesn't change the
Doesn't
regulations.
change laws.
It doesn't take it doesn't take the power away from the Halifax Board of Health, but it does allow for more enforcement, which is a good thing. We want to enforce, we have our rules and laws in place for a reason.
There
We
is.
want to enforce them.
There is a way that the CDC can overrule your local board of health.
I don't know.
I read it, because if you look back a couple years ago, and I believe you were a selectman at the time, right? Remember my cautions on it at the time, and then how are we gonna fund this later once this goes away? And that's basically,
What does this have to do with the CDC? Again, I assume that's the Federal Centers for Disease Control, right? What
it's
is it?
written in the law that they would be able to overrule. I read it out loud. Do you recall me stating that? You might not recall
I
that
don't remember
specific
that.
thing, but you remember me standing up with the documentation. It was in the documentation.
Okay.
The other concern with that is the town, we do have a contract, we have an intermunicipal agreement that we've entered into with the other communities. There could be breach of contract concerns if that were voted. Obviously, we would try to work through it if that's what town meeting's choice is, but again, just making sure that everyone's aware of
Did we,
implications.
so when we joined this regional health board, that wasn't a town meeting vote, was it?
No.
No, it was not. No. Anything else on 28? Okay. 29 is proposed by Amy Troop and 15 others. The residents of Halifax would like to remove the town from the stretch code.
I'm assuming that's the building code.
The stretch code was adopted in 2015 by the town. Amy's here, but I presume it has to do with the green communities and the fact that we're not sure, but we are likely non-eligible for green communities grants anymore, and that was really the driving factor behind adopting the stretch code, was you were eligible for those green communities grants.
That's part of the building code, right?
The stretch code is a separate energy code that was adopted.
And are we not eligible as a result of the MBTA vote?
Well, we don't know if we're not eligible. We submitted an application.
Is a thought because of the MBTA, though? Is that
That
why
would
we
be
would
it.
not possibly be?
Correct.
Okay.
But Amy's here, she can certainly.
The reason that the stretch code is an issue is because at first it went in and it seemed like a way that would make everything a little bit more green or energy efficient. Now, as of July 1st, 2024, it makes it so that if you're doing a 30% renovation or building new, let me separate those because there's clarifications in that, and we're dealing with that in the real estate world with building. It's a big problem. So on July 1st, 2024, if you're building a new house, you need it to be all electric. So back in the day, remember we had the baseboards electric, and that was not really the most efficient way to heat a house. Now they are putting in mini split systems in every single zone. So when you go to show a new house nowadays, there's a mini split system in each zone. And in a 1,500 square foot house, we're looking at 12 to 15 of them. So that and the weight on the electric is kind of over the top. The other reason is because our grid can't keep adding more and more electric. The other is the 30% renovation or more is you will not receive your building permit unless you remove your gas stove or your gas heating or your oil heat. There actually have been people in town that have gone to get a mini split system put in by Mass Save, and they've been told that they can't do it unless they take out their oil tank. So these things are really happening. It seemed like it would be extremely funny when people are like, oh, well, they're going to take away your gas stoves. Well, this is the mechanism in order to do so. I think that one of the things I've been stating for years is that we have to watch out for which grants we do take because of the teeth that come with it. So just because you get a little bit of money, so now in the town of Halifax, we have mostly oil. It is way more efficient to heat your house with oil than it is to with electric, especially if you look around town and you see how many people are complaining about their electric bills right now. It's a very big dynamic to deal with, $800, $1,200 electric bills. I've actually referred people to our state rep, Ken Sweezy, in order to have them be helped with their electric bill due to these issues that are arising. It's a big epidemic. So anyways, the reason that it sounds good, but it's a problem, there are a lot of builders that leave. So last year, I had a client builder do a I didn't have him do it, he was doing a renovation to a house, and they come with a HERS test. You know what that is? It's basically that they put a test on the front door to see how much air is coming inside out of your house, and it sounds good to think, okay, we'll block all around the doors and the windows so that you're not losing heat, right? Sounds great. But after they do that, now they have to put in an electric fan in order to circulate air, and this is all to meet a code. And it doesn't make sense, because now you're actually, if you're gonna fan the ventilation to your house and you're gonna pay for an electric bill to do so, wouldn't it just be better to have a little bit more air going up? I mean, we all want to have tight houses, but there's a degree of that. So now we're making it green by blocking air from going out between your doors and windows, but we need to have that circulation given to us by an electric. So a lot of it doesn't make sense. And it's a big problem. There are a lot of builders who don't want to build in Massachusetts anymore due to this.
Where do you find the stretch code, though? Do you find it as part of the building code or someplace separate?
It's part of the building code. We even have a local building inspector who has joked stating that he can't even read it. Doesn't understand it.
Amy, do you plan on bringing info to the meeting for folks to, any handouts or anything like that?
I know that there are people that are going to help educate the town on the SAFE Act. They're definitely for helping us with that. There's a major group that wants to help with that. And as far as stretch code, I could, honestly, most people know about it. I could bring something to the table, but one of the avenues, even if it wasn't removed this year, would be to educate, because most people, think about it. I don't know, did you know about it?
No.
And Cody knew about it probably because of his position, but isn't it kind of dumbfounding to find out that all of a sudden if you had a tree fall on your house and you had over a 30% renovation, you'd have to take your oil tanks out of your house? That's scary, right? So that, and think about how these insurances have been coming down. In 2005, I said to Mariano at Real Today on the Hill, why would we be bringing these insurance companies like Geico and all these other national ones into the state? And the reason that I stated that is because it's not necessarily that great to have a cheaper insurance, right? And I know why. I lived in Texas, I saw it. They don't, in Texas back in the 90s, they did not replace windshields because it was, unless it was a surchargeable thing. So I saw, it was letting go of the standards, and Tom might have the better word for me, but the standards of insurance back in that time period. And these little things that keep creeping in on us now see these changes, and we have issues having Pride Day and farmers markets and things like that. That's why I keep saying these things are not really just something to take lightly to change. A small bit of money is affecting the town in major ways. We need to weigh out the whole entire equation. 1 + 1 = 2, right? We can't leave one of those out to get to 2. So that's the same thing that we're doing with grants. That's why I was against complete streets, because you have to spend $250,000 to $300,000 at least of your Chapter 90 money to maybe get 400, and now the Mass DOT can change any of your laws. Why would we take that? Not just because it's a grant doesn't mean we want to take it, because they're giving it back to us with strings attached, and that's why it's so necessary to really read these things and see if they make sense. Because yeah, stretch code is bad, bad.
Okay, anything else on 29? 30?
30 is proposed by Amy Troop and 14 others. Any changes to zoning bylaws will require a 2/3 vote of town meeting and a referendum on the annual town election ballot. Require that all zoning bylaw changes be made only at annual town meeting. There will not be any zoning bylaw changes or overlay change articles to be on a special town meeting warrant. In speaking with council, there's some concerns. We don't have the ability to override Chapter 40A state law, and there's the amendment there that certain zoning changes only require a simple majority, and we don't have the local ability to override state law with that.
How about the fact of a referendum on the annual town election? I mean, this is all controlled by Chapter 40.
Council was still reviewing the legality of that requirement. The major concern initially was the require 2/3 for all zoning articles, but again, Chapter 48 allows for certain zoning articles now. That was changed under the Baker administration for a simple majority, and we don't have the ability to overrule state law.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions for the...
I'll talk about that one. The reason that that's very important, and that actually could be done just by having people know that overlay district on December of 2023 was put in front of the town, and it changed our town for really bad ways. And it wasn't fair, and most people didn't know about it. So this is a message to the town and from the town, because you saw our town meeting in December of 2024. They're heated. This is not something that we want. We didn't want 3.5-story buildings on the peach farm. We didn't want any of this, and it's gonna cause a really big problem, and now here we are, dealing with a financial problem. We don't have stability. What we have is a crisis going on in town now, because we're gonna need so many things because of a 3.5-story building. And we take high offense that the people that we elected didn't think of us and think, oh, wow, because a 40B would have been a lot more difficult to put through, especially when they were already told at a planning board meeting that they needed a multi-million-dollar water and sewer treatment plant. And then, funny, it got pushed to a special town meeting. And it really, really didn't do anything good for the people of the town of Halifax. Only for a multi-million-dollar corporation. And it's sad.
All right, anything else on the warrant?
No, Article 31 is just the election.
Okay, that's pretty standard. Okay, is that it from the board? Any questions?
None.
You would need to vote to approve the warrant, so we can get it sent out.
I'll make that motion with that one change that we
Yes.
made. You have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, old business.
As far as updates, I have several here. We are conducting 2 budget forums in preparation for town meeting to try to educate the residents on the budget process and the budget proposals for the upcoming year. The first one will be a week from today, and then the next one is going to be on May 5th. We have that information posted online. It'll be a presentation followed by a Q&A session that would allow residents to ask questions and hopefully be prepared for town meeting. We will record those, and those will be available online as well. There'll also be a Zoom function if you're not able to physically attend in person. That's an option as well.
Who's running that, you and the finance committee?
Yes. The library director search is going well. Our search committee has met several times over the past couple of months and interviewed several candidates in a preliminary process. We have recommended a candidate to the library trustees, and they are going before them on Thursday for a final interview and possible appointment as the library director. So that's good news there. The library is having an author talk on April 12th at 11 a.m. So look forward to hopefully residents attending that. Halifax Notify is our new alert system. You may have seen some information on that. It allows residents to sign up for text message and phone call alerts that we can get things out to them easily. So kudos to Caesar. He has overseen that process, and it seems like a great system. We've had actually a great response already. We've posted on our website mosquito spraying from Plymouth County Mosquito Control has begun. It'll occur this week, weather dependent. They will not be spraying over any residents in Halifax, just wetlands where there's no homes. About 500 acres, no precautions or anything, but just in case you see planes flying low, that could be the reason why. And then we have an upcoming hazardous waste day, May 3rd from 9 to 12 at the Highway Barn. For all you need to do is show that you are a Halifax resident. And no updates on the MBTA
The
zone.
hazardous waste is at the barn, not at recycling?
Correct.
Okay, anything else to come before the board?
No, I got nothing.
We'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Next meeting will be April 29th. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.